Okay, Jai Hind. How are you, everybody? Thank you so much for having me here, firstly. It's a platform where I wouldn't have thought that I would be a few years ago. Well, actually speaking, it started all in the year 2000, when, if I may call myself, a pretty little girl entered the outlandish gates of something new, scared, apprehensive. I surely didn't know what I was getting into. The new arena of the Air Force Academy. Well-mannered, prim and proper, dainty hands, was suddenly being shouted on, spoken rudely to. Cycles on our heads, rolling, haunching, sit-ups, push-ups, washing 10 clothes in the middle of the night, sleeping for 2 hours, all this besides the studies. Second day in the academy. And healthy, but not an athlete, told to run 10 kilometers all across the academy. And halfway down, I was all doubled up, red-faced, breathing heavy for trying to catch my breath. I thought, that's it. I told my instructor, "Sir, I think I'm going to faint. I'm going to puke. What do I get back?" "If you faint, make sure you break your nose, because you got to fall down like a plank. And if you got to puke, hurry up. We're not going to wait up for you." So I had heard that you either puke, you faint, or you die, but you keep going. So with the first two stricken off, I surely didn't want to die. With my parents coming up to leave me, I had a 5 minutes, thing with them in the evening. My tears wouldn't stop rolling down, and my mother sitting here wasn't sure what she got me into. She asked me, "Let's take you back." I didn't want to stay. But can I give up? That's a thought that scared me even more. Was it only me that was scared? Is the limit limited to where I was? 2 days, I told her. Give me 2 days. And I never looked back thereafter. Never thereafter. And the POTUS remained, the bicycles, remained up. I think this is not working, firstly. So the POTUS remained, the bicycles on my shoulders remained. But what changed is that smiles appeared. Smiles appeared, which made me happy. And those smiles thereafter translated to my family, who smiled along with my success as I excelled in my course. This is something which I learned in one of those days when I needed to push my limit. What is a limit, actually? It's what I feel, it's what your mind is predestined to think is your highest score. They are just high scores. Scores which limit you, scores which restrict you. How you get ahead of your limits, your high scores, is something which is dependent upon you. So by the end of the academy, of course, I had excelled, but at the same time, of course, I had, learned to carry the bicycle for a long number of kilometers. It was lesser than the number of pins I could put in my hair and the amount of milliliters of oil I could put on my hair, because that's what happens in academy, where you're made to sit down in a row and take in a bottle of oil, and you're supposed to empty the whole thing in your hair. So with all that happening, I realized that your potential is not in your comfort zone. It's somewhere outside. It's not here where I'm standing right now. It's probably where you all are sitting. I need to cross this red carpet which limits me here to be able to do something special. Our mind is limited by what we destine it to think, rather than it is much more capable in doing things which we do not think possible. The fire is within us. Postings happened, a lot of things happen. You make new friends, you go from one place to the other, and you meet new people, routine starts setting in. So I wanted something more. I needed to push myself more. So I grabbed the opportunity and said hello to skydiving. Well, let me tell you, there's nothing sensible about jumping from a serviceable aircraft. And how I learned it, how it goes in my way, is that you don't have assisted jumps. You don't have tandem jumps. You're taught on the ground, everything. So that's more or less like being taught how to swim on a blackboard and told to go and try it out for the first time in the Indian Ocean. So that's how it happens, but the training is grueling, so I managed and it was good. And the first jump, we all needed to be above the average, so I had to try it. I was a mother of 2 by then, so I still wanted to do it then. So the first jump, it is like, leaves you ecstatic. The moment you come down, you're yelling with excitement, so that's how the first jump happens. The second one, you want to relive the excitement. You want to feel the exhilaration again. The third, you think, what the hell am I doing here? And if in case one of your course trainee has the same feeling, and instead of jumping, he just sits down at the end of the ramp of the aircraft, clinging on to whatever life support, of course, whatever little determination you still have out of the aircraft right then. But you got to go on. So the first 5 jumps, what we do is like, I don't have to worry about opening my parachute. It opens by itself. But if you want to graduate further, and putting it simply, I need to be opening my own parachute while falling down about 1,000 feet per 5 seconds to a ground. Could I do it? And over and above that, I need to see and jump. I need to look down this 10,000 feet and see the ground so far away. And I had to see the aircraft which I'm standing on, totally, purely serviceable, taking me so safely up in the air. But I need to see down, I need to jump. Could I do it? I wasn't sure. Something I need to push on, push myself. Push, push, push. What do I do? Persist until something happens. I turn back. I tell my instructor, keep telling me how much back to go. He keeps telling me how much back to go till my feet are half out of the ramp in the air, and off I leap backwards. This is how I start my skydiving when I need to open up my parachute myself. So after I keep doing that for some time, I get used to the feeling, and then I can just see and I can jump out into the sky. So that's how skydiving happened, and it's been graduating. But at that time, like after my first 5 jumps, what a lot of people do, but do not graduate further, wherein you got to do everything yourself. If I had limited myself, then I wouldn't have been able to soar heights, and I wouldn't have been able to be part of the first women's skydiving team of India, which I was part of and got the opportunity to represent our country at various places. At the same time, I wouldn't have the most memorable day of my life. That was when I jumped from 14,000 feet amidst thousands of clouds, a thick layer of clouds. So you're jumping and the clouds are zipping past you. Zoop, zoop, they actually make that sound. And you have a relative first time in your life because you're actually jumping into clear skies. So this relative makes you feel how fast you're dropping. You're dropping to a ground which you actually can't see because the clouds are covering, with only an altimeter in your hand to trust and a backpack behind your back. So all the time I kept thinking, and I kept checking my altimeter, that I'm falling too fast, man. I'm going to hit the ground. I can't see it. I'm sure the clouds are real close to the ground. So every 5 seconds, I would check my altimeter to see how far have I reached. And I would think, oh, this is wrong. Something is wrong with this altimeter of mine. You can't open up the parachute right from the beginning. There's a certain height where you open up the parachute, so you've got to take care of that. Until, of course, the reserve opens and the white parachute is going to surely make you have some fractures or a shoulder dislocation and things like this. So that's how, skydiving happened, and I needed to push my limits for that. And, a lot of things in life, a lot of discoveries, like we have speakers here, they are because of the capacity to kindly push, to be able to push ourselves. The capacity and that ability which you and I share today. We both share the same ability, the same capacity to be able to push ourselves to do something which is beyond what we think is possible for us. And this possibility would define us. This definition is the ability to do and overcome the impossible. But what is the impossible? Is it a fact? It's never a fact. Impossible is just an opinion. It's not a declaration, okay? It's a dare. Impossible is the potential. It's a potential which will come out from you once you see something which is impossible. And it is temporary, totally temporary, and it's different for you, it's different for me, and it would be different for you tomorrow. Coming on thereafter, when you get set in a routine, what we feel once we get into the daily routine of everything, it's very easy to go on day after day, doing the same thing what you're used to, getting back to work, and doing everything what we do every day. But sometimes life pushes you into doing something which is different. What is important is that life shouldn't be pushing you to doing that. It is something which is into you, determining the controls are with you to determine how much you can push yourself to actually achieve the greater potential. Once you start the groove of pushing yourself right from beginning, it goes on beyond activities. It goes on beyond episodes, special episodes of probably inventing something, special episodes of probably pushing myself and jumping out of the aircraft. It flows on to your normal routine. It flows on to your normal work, it flows on to your talents, your passion, and everything at all. And that's how one of the things which came up in my career was the development of the IF mobile game, wherein we as a routine thought that the students are not going to be just looking at advertisements. You need to impress their minds from beginning and let them know there is something like the Air Force. So that's when we designed the Air Combat, the first India's first 3D air combat game. Because you need to go on a path which is not routine, which is not made by you, but you probably need to go where there is no path, and you need to leave a trail behind. Thereafter, you go boldly into something which is beyond, so that's when the guard of honor thing happened. It scares you sometimes. Of course, there's a lot of responsibility into doing your best, but at the same time, there is a lot of responsibility of agenda behind you. Agenda behind you, a service behind you, a reputation of a gender behind you, or the reputation of a service behind you, and eventually a reputation of a nation behind you, because you are actually giving it to a foreign dignitary. It scares you, but sometimes what scares you is worth a try. So please don't get scared. If something you want to do and it scares you, it might be just worth a try. So let's talk about one of those times when when you're posting changes and how do you go forward. Like, there is something which I wanted to share it's called a fake it effect. When I was small, my parents, my father was in the army, and I shifted from one place to another. 2 years, not more than 2 years, would I have stayed at a place. So all this begins, in the beginning, where you're sitting, or probably it's already begun for you, or if it's not, it's never too late. You would shift from one place to another, going from one posting to the other, meeting new people. You got to change your school every time. You're not leaving your friends behind, but you have to make new friends. You have to get adjusted into that new school, wherein all the kids are already friends and probably look at you as alien. First few days, nobody at my school knows, but my mom sitting here knows. I used to be such a crybaby. Early in the morning, I would wail and cry and become a sissy girl, not wanting to go to school, because I didn't know anybody, or probably I didn't like the student sitting next to me, or I didn't like the way the teacher taught, or I didn't like my book, I didn't like my uniform, I didn't like the way my school looked, or there could be a number of reasons. But I didn't want to go to school. And all my parents told is just trust yourself, you can do it. And yes, every time it used to take those 5 days, but even in those 5 days when I used to go to school, I used to fake it. I used to fake it that I was confident. I used to fake it that I'm not scared. I used to fake it that I belong there. When you start doing that regularly, eventually it might take days, it might take weeks, it might take months, or it might take years. But you become that person. You become that confident person, and you can do it in each and every walk of life. It's as simple as if you're sitting in a conference and probably you speak louder, but there are people who think you speak louder, so you need to fake yourself and think to speak, less loud and be more polite. So you become accustomed to speaking like that, and you fake it that time, but eventually by your third meeting, you're able to be prim and proper and speak just appropriately. That's something you learn over the years, and that's something which you got to push yourself to do. So in each and everything what you do, like we have an inventor sitting here, I'm sure the toils they have gone through, it's nothing easy. He would have pushed his limits to achieve that. If Amir out here would probably not have pushed his limits and come from US, taken that risk, I'm sure Karma would not be here today. So there are a lot of things, every invention, every discovery, be it Edmund Hillary, be it things in Norway, be it Thomas Edison who invented the bulb after failing 1,000 times, everybody has gone through a major toil of pushing up their limits and getting there. So nothing ever in life happens by sitting there. Why do you want life to come and push your limits, to be able to test your limits? It's something which you need to get up yourself and do. It is more gratifying if you have control over them. If you have control and instead of sitting there, you want to push your limits and do something more special, something which will actually get your greater potential in the forefront, rather than life giving its curve and turns wherein you would probably succeed even then. But once you have the control, it's more gratifying, it's more forceful, it's more successful. I have a very small talk, and then probably I would end up by a saying by Henry David, who says, "What lies before us and what lies behind us is a small matter compared to what lies within us. And once we bring out into the world what lies within us, miracles happen." Thank you.